waste anybody's time, but thank you guys for being here. This is our college student network webinars, and this is our March call. And I will start by sharing my screen. That would be a good thing, Remy. And like I said, just a couple of updates from around repairing schools. We've got a lot going on these days. We recently had our first conference experience and student symposium of the year at the Distributed Wind Energy Association's annual conference in Arlington back in February. But as we look forward, we have more opportunities coming up. One is coming up, it's not on the screen here, but we are hosting students at Solar Plaza, which is located in San Diego this year. It's their asset management conference. And we have opened that up to students in California to come and experience the Emerging Leaders Program. And so hopefully some of you all are participating in that. But other than that, most of our conference experiences are after the summer, but making sure they're on your calendar before you leave for your summer breaks. The Rise Leadership Forum this year is in Chicago. We're looking to get students involved in that event. We will be hosting our Solar Student Symposium at the American Solar Energy Society's annual conference in Austin in October as well. It's a busy month. And then last but not least, we are hosting students at REpS, which is a large industry trade conference that happens in Las Vegas in November. And so keep an eye on our website for applications to open. Actually, I think all of those are open right now. So if you have any interest in coming to any of those, you should probably put that in now. American Solar Energy Society will not be on our website. It's on the ACE's website, and you have to apply to be a JEDI Scholar, which is their, I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but they have a scholarship form for college students. And once you're accepted as a JEDI Scholar, then repairing schools will come in and program for that. Just a reminder also that the Google Solar Scholars program is still open for application. As we are monitoring applications, we have started to open up the who should apply piece of this. So when we rolled this out earlier, we were really focusing on trying to get hands-on experiences for these students, specifically in Virginia. But realizing now that there's so much more interest outside of Virginia, so we are opening it up to anybody who is enrolled in college for specifically the virtual learning webinars that will happen twice a week for the 5-week period to learn about solar development and siting and the challenges that we face and some of the tools that we use to overcome those challenges. So those virtual learning sessions are open to anybody, so please apply regardless of your where you're located. No experience is necessary, and we are asking for letters of recommendation, but they're not required. They will definitely bolster an application, but they're not required. So please, it's end of the month is when we're going to be closing the applications for this. So hopefully we'll see a bunch more applicants come through. So please share that with your friends. And then lastly, the stakeholder engagement and community engagement seed funding grants are going to be opening in April. And in preparation for folks to submit proposals for that, we are hosting a webinar series. The first webinar happened in March, but the recording is available on our YouTube channel and on the website. And the second webinar in the series, where we're really going to dig into best practices in stakeholder and community engagement, is on April 15th. So you're going to want to join that webinar so that you can have an upper edge when you put a proposal in for that seed funding. And again, that's $5,000 grants to 4 different universities. So highly recommend you look into that. And then just a little bit of a spoiler for the next academic year. We are planning to roll out our Repowering Careers, which is our career assistance program, in fall of 2026, and hosting our very first cohort, which will include a semester of like career development webinars and workshops, followed by, in the spring semester, a career mentorship program where you actually get linked with an industry mentor who will kind of help you through finding and locating jobs and internships and working through the interview process and things like that. So that's super fun. And we are still visioning what a Repowering Schools alumni and ambassador program might look like, and hoping that by fall of next year, we will have something more tangible to get you guys involved in. And last but not least, our Renewable Energy Education Awards are open for nomination through the end of, I think, through the end of April. We do look for nominations for outstanding educators, but we also look for student excellence nominations. So you can self-nominate. It's perfectly fine. We also are looking for industry champions. So if you know of a company that has done a really great work and helping to recruit or educate students to work into the industry, we appreciate those nominations. We have a special recognition category for folks that may not fit into any of these other categories. And then last but not least, we always recognize our schools that have renewable energy installations, but are also using those in their coursework and their research. We call them repowered schools. They're kind of the high level, like doing everything right, walking the walk kind of schools, and we love to recognize those. So please get your nominations in today at our website. And just a reminder that we are recording this session, and all of our other webinars are recorded and available on our YouTube channel for you to go back and watch at any time. And with that, I would like to introduce Kate Shonk, who is with Advanced Energy United, and she's going to talk to us today about the cool things that she does and maybe some cool opportunities to get involved in sort of things that she does. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen in case, Kate, you have some slides that you want to share. Um,
Great.
and turn it over to you.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I do have some slides, so I will get those up. Okay. Can you guys see this?
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. So thanks so much for having me. I'm Kate, and I work at Advanced Energy United. I'll go into a little bit about what we do, some examples of our work, and then touch on some opportunities as well. So, a little bit about Advanced Energy United. We are a nonprofit trade association and we represent the full scale of advanced energy solutions from, grid scale renewable resources to distributed energy resources. We represent clean heating companies like heat pump companies, energy efficiency providers, um, everything related to advanced energy. And we provide a few different things. We advocate in state legislatures and regulatory venues to expand opportunity for clean energy. We conduct research and analysis about the industry. And we serve sort of as the experts on the technologies themselves, and get a lot of input from our member companies to figure out what policies we want to advocate for in the states. And I, in particular, work on our enabling building electrification team. We work both on accelerating the deployment of electric technologies in homes and buildings. So again, that's like heat pumps and fully electrifying our homes. And then we also work on regulating the natural gas utility system and sort of preparing for this transition to a fully electrified and clean energy future. And I guess to give you some background too about my path, if it's interesting, I previously worked for Citizens Utility Board of Illinois, which is the utility consumer advocate in the state. They do a lot of great work both on the ground, engaging with consumers on their utility bills, teaching them how to enroll in different energy efficiency and building decarbonization programs. And they also work in, the utility rate cases to help ensure that consumers are not paying for unnecessary infrastructure and making sure utilities are aligning with clean energy goals. And that work sort of brought me to Advanced Energy United, where I still often work in coalition with consumer advocates like Cub Illinois. A little bit about our member companies. So again, we're a trade association. We represent more than 100 different business organizations that are providing the solutions. to this energy transition. We have different levels of membership. There are just a few examples of the companies in our membership on the screen here. Um, but we work with them to develop our policy solutions and get input both on the legislation that we're advocating for, but our, regulatory comments that we submit in public utility commissions. And they're really on the ground implementing the solution. So it's great to have their feedback on, what we should be advocating for in various states. And then a bit about where we work. So we are primarily a state-focused trade association. We work in state venues across the country. We do have a small federal team that works on federal policy. Um, but we primarily engage in the states. So these are broken up into sort of our core portfolio of states across the country in purple. And then we also have a team called our Decision Maker Engagement and Education team that is not doing the direct advocacy on legislation and regulatory work, but they do a lot of work to educate public utility commissioners across the country. So that's those additional states in blue are what's covered by that work. So we do a lot of education to build champions at public utility commissions who have a huge impact on what clean energy policy moves forward. So that work is very impactful. And then we also do gubernatorial candidate education, which is big this year because a lot of states have governor's races coming up. So we work on educating candidates for those races and helping again to build champions on our issues. Um, and a little bit about our structure, because I think it's always interesting to hear, sort of the teams that are available at an organization. I work on our policy team, particularly on the policy and market intelligence team, which is a team of subject matter experts, and I cover the building electrification work. We have other subject matter experts on things like EVs, um, DERs and virtual power plants, um, others on transmission. So we sort of serve as the people that are really deep in the subject matter, and then we build capacity and help support our state legislative and regulatory teams that are advocating, in the state venues. Again, we also have a small federal team, and then, like I mentioned, we have our decision maker education and engagement team that does a lot of that education, but not the direct advocacy in state venues. Um, and then we also have a team that is helping advance our mission just like the policy team, we have marketing and communications, which we on the policy team work very closely with our communications team to write op-eds and publish press releases and do other communications work that can help advance our mission through that outside game lens. We also have our sales team that works to get more companies in our membership. And then once companies are in our membership, we have a membership engagement team that does a lot of work to help build those relationships and make sure that members are getting, a good value out of their membership. And on the policy team, we also work both with the sales and membership engagement teams. As a policy person, I might be at a conference and meet a company that would be really great for our membership. And so I'll work with the sales team there. And then also, obviously, I'm engaging constantly with our membership. And so working with our membership engagement team on that. And then we also have a fundraiser engagement team that helps build those relationships with our nonprofit funders. Um, and then, of course, have HR and accounting and people who also work on the data management side of our organization. So that sort of is the span of our different roles, and we have a little over 100 folks at Advanced Energy United right now. So some examples of what I work on and what our policy team works on broadly to give you a sense of the day-to-day. I guess how we work broadly, we have a lot of efforts on education, so providing that technical expertise to decision makers like public utility commissioners, legislators, and other folks on the technologies in the clean energy industry, how they work. And then we do that direct advocacy work in state legislatures. Um, Lobbying on behalf of bills and writing legislation, that sort of direct work on the ground. And then we also have a C4 side of our nonprofit, which works to activate the general public. That part of our organization is called Counterspark, and so they will publish ads and work with us to do email blasts to different listservs in different states to get people to support different legislation, primarily that we're working on. And then sort of our strategy, we have a playbook that was developed this year. And the way we're looking at our work very broadly is this build it, make it flexible, make it affordable model, where we need to build clean energy to keep up with growing demand. We need to make it flexible, so we need to enable demand flexibility programs and virtual power plant programs that can allow people to shift their usage and make the grid more reliable and also bring down costs for the energy system. And then make it affordable, which is tied into both of these things because clean energy is more affordable than fossil fuel options, but just making sure that we are monitoring utility spending, shaping the right incentives for programs, and all of that. So that's sort of our broader playbook, and you're welcome to look at on our website to learn more about how we're thinking about this work broadly. So some examples of the work, we again do a lot of educating decision makers. The two pictures, one in the top middle and the left, were tours that we put on for state legislators related to my work, which is building electrification. The middle top picture is of a tour we did of an affordable all-electric multifamily home, a building in Chicago. So that was for Illinois state legislators to see the benefits of clean technologies. The building is fully up and running now, and I believe they're installing solar on the roof. It has a heat pump system, and I believe they'll have EV charging at that site as well. So a really great example of coupling these clean technologies and making sure that low income folks are receiving the benefits of them. And then the image on the left is in Michigan. We did a tour. The state capitol there has a geothermal heating and cooling system. So we did a tour of that for state legislators, which was great to show the benefits of geothermal heating and cooling and how that can help the state save a lot of money on their utility bills because that form of HVAC equipment is much more efficient than its gas counterpart. And then, yeah, just do a lot of work talking to decision makers, presenting on different proceedings, and making sure legislators and commissioners have the tools to really champion clean solutions. And then we also do a lot of advocacy around legislation. We will write legislation and advocate it for it in state legislatures. I have just an example of a bill on the left that I helped write in Illinois on a state energy navigator program, which would help connect different utility consumers to programs that will help them upgrade the technologies in their home and find incentives for heat pumps, solar, low income assistance, the whole suite of energy assistance. And then we also do a lot of blogs and communications work to uplift our advocacy and what's going on in the states. And then we also write a lot of comments in regulatory proceedings, at public utility commissions in different dockets. We intervene in some of the utility rate cases, and provide our expertise there as well. So that's sort of our direct advocacy work. And then internally, as someone who works on the subject matter expert team, we will often develop these principles for engagement on different issues. One example of this being we had not historically, as an organization, engaged with building energy code updates in states because it's a very complex topic. But part of what I had an intern last summer who helped me develop sort of our principles for engagement moving forward so that we can engage in those policies. We had a lot of our coalition partners asking for us to weigh in on building energy codes and help get, more codes that enable clean energy technologies. So we developed those principles that were then shared with the rest of the policy team to know, when to engage, how to engage, what's a good opportunity for us to weigh in. Um, and yeah, we do this with a lot of different emerging topics, um, as is necessary to help guide the rest of the organization's engagement on different issues. And then we also do a lot of research. We have quite a few different white papers and reports published on our website that I recommend you check out. Often they're done in consultation with a consultant or an expert who can do the actual modeling. We do have a small team of folks who can do more of that analysis and modeling. But one example of an internal research project we did was looking at Maryland's potential clean heat standard, which a clean heat standard just requires uh, heating fuel providers to reduce their emissions by supplying clean heat services like weatherization, energy efficiency, heat pumps. And Maryland is has an executive order to create a clean heat standard. And as an organization that wants to support that policy, we did some research on what the heat pump market opportunity would be with a clean heat standard and sort of the benefits to the local economy. And then we also looked at what the peak electricity load reduction would be from a clean heat standard, because when you replace, say, air conditioning with a heat pumps are more efficient. And so they can reduce the peaks on the electricity grid, which usually happen in the summer. So there's a lot of benefit to deploying heat pumps, particularly for reducing electricity load in the summer. So that's just one example, but we do a lot of different research and then also provide that research to different decision makers to help guide their decision making. So a little bit about just some careers in energy policy and what, a role like one at Advanced Energy United could lead to. We have a lot of folks at our organization who either previously worked for a public utility commission, or we have a few folks who were even appointed to serve as public utility commissioners. One being we had a uh, our managing director of our Northeast work was actually appointed to chair the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities. And we had another person who formerly worked at Advanced Energy United who was appointed to the California Public Utility Commission. But we also have a lot of folks who work on staff, previously worked on staff at public utility commissions. And I think that's a great way to influence energy policy. A lot of folks who work at public utility commissions may be sort of a little bit old school or sort of bought into the traditional way of of looking at energy. And so it's really great to have folks who care about clean energy in public utility commissions. Um, you can also serve as a policy expert that can work with, legislators and different staff to advise decision makers. And there's just a huge landscape of work in the energy field, as I'm sure you all know. There's a ton that you can do, whether it's from the environmental side, the trade organization side, working with decision makers, working at a public utility commission. It's just a huge landscape. Um, and there's a lot of different issues that you can focus on. I work on building electrification, but there, oh, are
We
you guys
just
hearing me?
lost your, yeah, we lost your audio for a minute.
Okay, weird.
Do we just lose her altogether?
Yeah, I think so. Oh wait, I think you came back.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, okay.
That was
There we go.
strange. You like
Yeah,
left us for like 2 seconds.
yeah, it's so funny. I think my internet connection was unstable for a second there, but
That happens to me all the
yeah,
time.
At least you
but
came
I'm
right
back.
back.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, anyway, there's a lot that you can do in the energy field, and these issues are just a few that you could touch on. And then I wanted to mention our internship program, which right now is currently closed for this upcoming summer. We typically take applications very early in the year in January through early spring, but we have the internship program every year, so you can look out for opportunities in 2027 if you're interested. The program runs throughout the summer from June to August, and it's hybrid, so it's partly in DC in our office. But also partly remote. And you would primarily be working with remote folks since the rest of our organization is remote. But we do have some folks who work in the office in DC. Um, the internships are paid, and there are opportunities to extend them farther into the school year for a small number of folks who want to do that. Um, and I have just some of the requirements for the internship program on the right here, but it's a great program. I have interns every year, and I think they really get a lot out of it. And then just some careers at United, if you are beyond the internship point, we have a few careers open right now. I don't know how many of them are sort of our associate level, which is our earliest level of position. But if you're interested in working with Advanced Energy United, we have an expression of interest form that you can always fill out and a questionnaire to be considered for future roles as well. And we do often have roles open up. I think, Advanced Energy United is a great place that is looking to facilitate the growth of early career folks. So I started out as an associate at Advanced Energy United, was promoted to a principal, and I think there's a lot of different opportunity to grow in your career at United. Um, but yeah, I think that's all I have. I'm happy to take any questions, but I also just have my contact information here if you're looking to chat or want to reach out. Yeah, Melissa?
Oh yes, I do have a question if you're like finished.
Yeah,
Or
of
okay,
course.
okay, okay. I didn't want to like cut you off or anything. But yeah, had a couple of questions. But the first one is that like seeing as that like you're working on the policy and market intelligence team, it seems like you're conducting a lot of intercollaborative work. You had mentioned the different departments that you worked alongside in conducting research on policy issues and such. So I was curious about a little bit about you, what got you to this position at Advanced Energy United, and what you did during undergrad or grad school to prepare you for this type of work, specifically like the technical skills or the soft skills that were necessary in order for you to be a part of this leadership team now at Energy United.
Yeah, great question. So I'll go into my background in undergrad since I think that's useful. I was a political science and English major at the University of Michigan. Um, and while I was there, I had a couple of internships and was involved in some student organizations that were related to sustainability and energy. I was vice president of an organization that was doing a lot of like grassroots sort of engagement on sustainability, and then I also interned in DC for a summer for an organization that is the watchdog over the World Bank and their development projects. So they sort of ensure that the projects are environmentally sustainable, and work to pass policies to sort of regulate the World Bank. And so I think those two opportunities really led me to focus more in on the clean energy, sustainability type field. Um, right after I graduated, I worked on the 2020 election for Work for Progress, trying to get environmentally friendly candidates elected, both in the presidential election and some Senate races. And so yeah, that culmination of those different experiences, I think, then set me up to then work at Citizens Utility Board of Illinois, um, which is more specifically focused on energy. But in terms of other experience, I am actually currently in a master's program in sustainable urban development. Um, so I'm doing both, full-time work and my master's program. And I think, I think it's great to go into a grad program right out of undergrad, but I would say what's really valuable to employers is having that work experience. I think that's often what they're looking for. It's certainly not required for my role to have a master's degree. I was just looking to expand my skills and my knowledge, and a lot of folks in the career do have master's degrees or law degrees. So I wanted to sort of set myself up well for the future, but certainly not required if you don't want to go to grad school. Um, but yeah, I think working in policy specifically, you may not need more of those technical skills, but it really is about being able to connect with people, being able to network and make your way in, especially with working in coalitions with other organizations, educating decision makers. Um, it sometimes it's just like making a good impression on them, and I think that's really important. Yeah, and just being able to write. We do a lot of writing and a lot of reading in the policy world. So those are definitely some good skills to have, which I know most undergrad programs are going to prepare you for that. Um, but yeah, I hope that's helpful and answers your question. Great.
Yeah, and Melissa, thank you for asking that because I was going to ask the same question. So, Kate, thank you for giving us the backstory, and I think that's really amazing. And the combination of experiences that you have, it's just really very cool the way that your career has kind of unfolded for you. So it's very cool to see. And I have to say, I want to make sure anybody else is welcome to ask questions, but one of the things that I have always believed, I think a lot of us in this renewable energy industry get into this because we have a passion for helping people and for helping the environment, things like that. And I've kind of moved in the education space, but policy has always been the space. Like if somebody asked me, like, what should I do to make the most impact? I was like, you need to get into policy because policy is really where the change happens. So I don't know if you can speak to, kind of your passion or like what you've seen on your side of like how change happens.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great question. And I totally agree. I think policy is where you can have the largest impact, in my opinion. And I think because I used to work more at the grassroots level with Citizens Utility Board, I've sort of seen the contrasts of what I could do on an individual level, which is great and very impactful to help one person save on their utility bills or adopt solar or something like that. I think that's super valuable work. People need to be doing it. Um, but I think with policy, it does have such a broader reach, and sometimes it's implementing the policy too that really matters. Yeah, I guess I can speak from specific a specific example. I work a lot in Michigan, which is where I'm from, and in Michigan, it's quite difficult to get people to adopt electric heat pumps for their heating because Michigan has really high electric rates and they have quite low natural gas rates in comparison. And so, plus, the state is a cold climate state, so people have high heating loads. Um, so it's difficult to get people to switch off of fossil fuels for their heating, if they're not saving money. So a big thing that we've been working on in the state is trying to get utilities to adopt a specific electric heating rate for people with heat pumps or people with electric resistance heating. Um, and we've seen some positive indications that that may be successful. This policy is not fully baked or fully implemented yet, but I think that is one example of where if we can get this across the finish line and get the Public Utility Commission to approve a specific electric heating rate for the utilities in Michigan, then people will save more money on their bills if they have electric heating. And there will sort of be this domino effect of, if people can save with electric heating, then there's so much more that we can do in terms of, um, expanding heat pumps and sort of regulating the costs on the natural gas system and doing more of the work that we want to do on both sides of our building electrification work. So, without that, it's really hard to to get people to adopt the clean technologies that we want. And so, yeah, and I guess just generally to your question about my passion, I've always had a passion for sustainability and the environment. It's where we live. We need to breathe clean air. And I think that working at Citizens Utility Board before my current role and just talking to folks, um, really had a big impact on me. And just knowing that people people's utility bills are such a huge concern for them. People will forego other expenses like rent or food if they can't afford their utility bills. And so we need to be deploying these more affordable, cleaner options. And yeah, there's so much within energy that we can get into the weeds in, which is what I really like. I like um, diving in deep to a topic. And I think there will never be a shortage of content to learn. So that's sort of where my interest comes from.
Very cool. Thank you for all of that. I wanted to give Melissa and Baloo, I know you're here too, although I know you're not on camera, but if either of you wanted to just introduce yourselves and let Kate know like where you're going to school and what you're studying, maybe that will bring about another round of questions. So Melissa, you have your hand raised too. Does that mean you still have another question? So go for it. Take the floor.
Wait, so do I ask my question or do I allow myself and
Why don't
Baloo
you
to
introduce
introduce
yourself first and
ourselves?
then ask your question?
Okay. Good call, good call. Well, hi, Kate. My name is Melissa. I'm a third year bioengineering student at UCLA, the University of California, Los Angeles. I know you had mentioned California a couple times surrounding like legislation or a couple of the positions where members had continued on. So that's why I felt really great to be mentioned. And as for my question, firstly, congratulations on the master's program, balancing like your full-time job as well as a graduate program. Absolutely incredible. I could barely do undergrad right now. So the fact that you're doing both of them simultaneously, like, congratulations. I hope you saw the applause. But yes, and beyond that, you mentioned that since you're doing work on building electrification, I was just curious in general, what's something that you enjoy about the job that you do, about like your day-to-day life that you're especially fond of, and also any like key things that you've learned along the way so far, especially upon recently being promoted to principal. So, yeah, policy principal. So, if you could give us some insight on all of that.
Yeah, great questions and thank you. Yeah, I think building electrification specifically is one of the toughest issues in the clean energy sphere. Um, I think it's particularly hard because um, we're not trying to wind down anyone's business, but I think gas utilities are seeing it as like they're being replaced by electric alternatives. And so there's really politically strong powers against building electrification, and there's been a lot of work to influence people to like gas appliances in their home. Um, Even though gas stoves are linked to childhood asthma and blood cancer and lung cancer, and they have a ton of risks associated with them, like carbon monoxide poisoning, um, and just, general risk of explosion. So I think what I like about this subject matter is that it's hard. Like it is very hard to work against very powerful utility companies, um, and different political interests. And I think gas is sort of the next coal where we need to get people to see it as the problem that it is. I think coal is a lot easier to convince people that it's unhealthy because they can see, outside their window the smoke and the emissions and all of the issues with it. And I think gas is a little bit more hidden, and so people don't understand all of the health issues, all of the risks, and also the way that gas utilities operate, which is spending a lot to replace pipelines, which those costs are directly passed on to us as consumers. And they're really not regulated in the same way that electric utilities are, where they have to sort of prove that their investments are cost effective and are helping reliability. So yeah, I think that yeah, it's really hard work, but I see it as like the next frontier, which is really exciting to be working on this emerging issue. Um, yeah, does that answer your question, or was there another part that I missed?
That was I asked two parts of the question. Firstly is what you enjoyed about it, and that was like an excellent answer. Like I appreciate all of the insight, especially into like the industry and like the clean energy sector. Like I was unaware of like that transition being difficult due to what you had mentioned surrounding like public policy. And the second component was significant things that you have like learned along the way through this energy and like your career trajectory thus far.
Yeah, things I've learned along the way. Great question. I think I think in terms of I've learned a ton in terms of the subject matter, obviously. I'm learning every day. I think in terms of the career growth aspect, I think it's really important to, uplift the work that you're doing and to make sure that people know what you're doing and people know the achievements that you've made. I think it's really easy to be humble and to even forget to keep track of everything you're doing, but it's super important in career growth to be keeping track of what you're doing and how that has led to concrete action and success, particularly like in your resumes, if you can connect what you've done to a tangible outcome. I think is really great. And also just communicating that to management and folks is really, really important. So that's more on the career growth side, but I don't know if I could ever pick one thing I've learned in terms of the content because it's just so much. But yeah, hopefully that's useful.
Yeah, and not to interrupt you, Melissa, if you have more questions, but I did want to mention one thing, especially as you were talking about, sharing your successes and, learning along the way. If you're not familiar with the RISE organization, Women of Renewable Industries and Sustainable Energy is a fantastic organization. And they are really supportive of folks early in their career through their mentoring program. And they also have a leadership forum where you can, go and really dig deep into professional development and growing your leadership skills. So highly recommend. Melissa, I know you're in California and Rise is in Chicago, but it would be, I think that would be an amazing event for someone like you to be at and to be able to meet some of these women that can help kind of guide you as you move through your career. So, and Kate, I'm assuming you're familiar with Rise and are very, into that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them. I haven't actually engaged with them, even though I am in Chicago. But yes, I have heard of them.
Well, on that note, thank you for mentioning that you're in Chicago. I was going to say, since Rise, the leadership forum this year is in Chicago, one of the things that we do, I'm on the planning committee. One of the things we do is the first day of the conference, kind of before it all gets kicked off, is we do field trips and other tours and experiences. And the tour that you were talking about of that community that was fully electric, that is getting solar and EV charge, that could be a really interesting tour to offer up to the committee if you think that would be reasonable. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it's a great place to showcase. I Yeah, I'm happy to connect you to the folks that it's a preservation of affordable housing project, and the folks there are really great and really bought into, sustainability and everything in their projects. So yeah, I think that would be great and happy to connect you to those folks.
yeah, and I know Chicago's a big place, so I can't remember exactly where the conference is being held, and I'm sure, we'd have to talk about proximity and how we would get folks there,
Yeah.
but anyway, could be an interesting opportunity.
Yeah.
And then I want to see, I don't know if any more questions. I have a bunch of other questions, but my questions are a little bit more. The first thing I wanted to ask you is, since we have a little bit of time left, and I'm not sure if everybody on the call is familiar, but you mentioned something called virtual power plants. And this is a little bit of a new concept for me. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about virtual power plants and what they are and how they help.
Sure. Yeah, virtual power plants are new to a lot of folks. It's not my area of subject matter expertise, but I can give you the brief overview. They essentially allow they're a program that's offered through a utility that allows people with distributed energy resources like batteries, solar, those resources to deploy those at times when the grid is in need of additional generation. So they're a great way to sort of aggregate the home resources that people have and use those to make the grid more reliable. Um, there's a lot of different ways people are referring to virtual power plants. There's conversations about how they should be referred to as like community power or aggregated power, different terminology because a virtual power plant is quite a confusing term. Um, but yeah, they're great. We've worked on legislation in Illinois to help stand up a virtual power plant program. There's legislation pending in Michigan on this. California, we actually passed a bill Last year, that was vetoed by Governor Newsom on virtual power plants. Not really sure why. But yeah, lots of states where this is an emerging concept. I'm sure we have a lot of resources on our website too. And we have someone on our subject matter team who focuses on virtual power plants really exclusively since they're such this popular emerging concept.
Awesome. I know, Balu, I know you've been in and out. I don't know if you have the ability to even to ask a question or introduce yourself in the chat or off mute. It's okay if it's not possible.
Yeah, I was able to put my name in the chat, but for some reason it keeps on kicking me out, and I tried signing in again, and then it took me back to when Melissa was introducing herself, trying to ask Kate questions. So I was like, I'm not really sure. So, but Kate, thank you for your presentation. I really enjoyed it, and I will just reintroduce myself to everyone again. My name is Bolu. I'm a graduate student here at Old Dominion University, and I'm studying international studies. And my research is basically on energy transition in developing countries. So, and one of my goals is to be a energy policy analyst in the future, and also to ensure that everybody have equal access to affordable solar panels, and to ensure that most underserved populations do not have a reason to experience bad weather condition or not be able to heat their house during like the winter period. So, because of my own personal experience as well, and joining you guys has also like helped me narrow down or start thinking about how all of these thoughts can be put into actions. So yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't show my screen because I don't know what else will happen.
It's okay.
Yeah, but that was a great
Yeah,
presentation, Kate.
yeah, thank you. It's great to meet you. Thanks for talking about your interests too. That's great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, if there's no more questions, I'll just quick shout out and reminder the thanks to our all of our sponsors that make this these webinars possible, but also that next week we are not next week, next month, we will be meeting on April 15th. And I have invited the folks from Mortensen Construction to join us. You'll have to keep an eye on social media for when that's all confirmed, but they are sponsoring our collegiate win competition this year, and they do have lots of internship and job opportunities. So I think they'd be fantastic to come and talk to our student network. So hopefully I will be able to confirm that and see you guys on April 15th with someone from Mortensen Construction. And just one last reminder, I will send out a follow up with the recording and all of the announcements from Repowering Schools, but definitely check back up to our website. There's lots going on in there. So feel free to take advantage of as many of those programs as you can. And thanks again to Kate. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed your presentation, and I hope others do as well.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, and anyone feel free to reach out if you want to chat.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you. Bye. It was a pleasure meeting
Thank
you, Kate, and
you.
it's nice
Yeah.
seeing you, Remy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good to see you too.